What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders for Monday, September 7th, Labor Day. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Still churning out a ton of NBA content on a day-to-day basis. The NFL is coming up soon, so you don't want to miss it. Marcus Smart, Daniel Tice, Kyle Lowry, and Fred VanVleet round out my top 10. Robert Williams, the Time Lord, is on the outside looking in. Who will be my top 5 plays for today? It is time to find out. Coming in at number 5, a name you've heard every other day for what feels like weeks. It's OG Anunoby, 5th on FanDuel, 5th on DraftKings. He's 6K on FanDuel, 5,700 on DK. I've got him projected for 40 minutes. Pretty much every single guy in this series is playing 40 minutes at this point. Lowry, VanVleet, Anunoby, Siakam. These guys are just going to be out there for a ton of time. Anunoby's been great over the last 30 days. 0.78 fantasy points per minute. I'm actually only projecting him at 0.69, which is nice. He's only got like a low 30s GPP goal. I think he gets there about a quarter of the time. That seems like not enough, but it's really good on a slate like today. There is less value on this slate than we've seen on any playoff slate yet. It is really problematic. OG Anunoby is a guy that I'm going to have a ton of. It doesn't seem like his ownership gets there regularly each day, so he ends up being a guy that I'm overweight on. I'm perfectly okay with that. OG Anunoby is a top 5 guy on both sites. Alrighty, time to get roasted in the comment section. Number 4, Paul Millsap. People need to put the first round series out of their head. Paul Millsap is playing, and he is playing real minutes. I'm projecting him for 28. I think 30 is a more likely scenario than 26, barring foul trouble. This guy is just out there for this particular series, and I'm not surprised. The Clippers are a bigger team. Millsap works a little bit better in this series. Now, he is 8th overall on FanDuel. He is 3rd on DraftKings. The dual eligibility and the $4,700 price tag stand out there. Sort of similar to OG Anunoby, about 20 to 25% GPP goal. I'll probably have him in about 40% of my lineups as long as he doesn't end up crazy chalky, which who knows? I've been touting him. 10 and 6 as a baseline projection. It's a 0.78 guy over the last 30 days. I've got him projected for 0.78. I'm just willing to bet on the minutes at this point. The series is showing me that Paul Millsap is going to be out there, and if Paul Millsap is playing 28 minutes, he's really difficult to avoid sub 5K. Alrighty, now coming in number 3. I can already hear the people screaming. This one's a chase, but we need to be very specific here. JaMychal Green is coming in 19th on FanDuel. That is not all that interesting to me. He only hits his GPP goal about 7% of the time. On DraftKings, where there is no value to speak of below 4K, JaMychal Green at 3,600 with forward and center eligibility is probably my favorite play of the day. I'm only projecting him for 21 minutes. That's only 5.5 points and 5.5 rebounds. It's not an exciting outcome, but it seemed like they like a little bit of that stretch nature for JaMychal Green. They didn't go with Harrell or Zubac to close in the last game. It was JaMychal Green that was primarily out there at the end of the game. You're looking for about 20 fantasy points. If you can get north of 20 fantasy points, you're golden. I don't know how else you pay all the way down. That might just be a sign for you guys to know that you need to go a little bit more balanced than go all the way up. But for right now, the way that the slate looks, JaMychal Green looks like a solid, and in my opinion, quite possibly the best value play under 4K on DraftKings today. Next up, coming in number 2, the inverse of JaMychal Green. That's Lemon Pepper Lou. He is my number 1 play on FanDuel, where he's just $5,100. He's 19th overall on DraftKings, where he's $5,800. We're talking about a difference in a GPP goal of 6 fantasy points, or at least 5.5. That's a lot. I think Lou Williams can get to his GPP goal 28% of the time on FanDuel. I only think he gets to 12% of the time on DraftKings. That's a big disparity. I think Lou Williams should be owned in like the 60% range on FanDuel if you're playing 150 lineups. 28 minutes, you know you're betting on scoring. It's going to be highly variant, but This is another guy where if he gets cooking, you definitely want him. 1.06 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. I'm projecting him significantly lower than that at 0.89. If you wanted to bring that number up, obviously I already think he's the best FanDuel option. DraftKings would bring him a little bit closer to the top 10. But for right now, if you're playing on FanDuel, Lou Will should be the number one guy for you. You can see it on the screen, but before we get there, be sure to hit that like button. And again, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. But the likes, those thumbs ups, they really help me out a ton. Number 1, Jerami Grant. He's my number 2 play on FanDuel, my number 8 play on DraftKings. The FanDuel spot is really pulling him up a bit. He hits that goal 27% of the time. Get the dual forward eligibility on DK. Monster minutes here. I'm even being pessimistic and giving him 36. He can play 40 today. Played 40 in the last game. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Just makes me a little nervous just in case Michael Porter Jr. gets cooking. I mean, he's only played 18 minutes. It doesn't appear that he's going to be getting any additional run. I just get really nervous when I project someone like Jerami Grant for 40 minutes. 12 points, 4 boards. Hasn't been a stellar per minute fantasy guy, 0.67. This one's a bet on playing time, and the playing time appears to be there. I see no way to avoid him on FanDuel at small forward. I think he should be in about 60% of lineups. On DraftKings, where he comes in 8th, it's about a third of the way. I'm assuming his ownership is pretty high, so I'll expect Jerami Grant to be a really nice cash option on DK. I want to be very clear here. He's great, but be wary of high ownership on a guy with a relatively low fantasy point per minute projection. Those are the spots that start to scare me. Alrighty, guys, that will do it. Those are my top 5 plays for today. My favorites. My contenders are on the screen. You can see the top 10 on the left. Thank you guys for joining me here. I will have the strategy show at 9:30 and then I'm done for the day. So if you are not a member of our Awesemo.com community, you need to join. Go to Awesemo.com/join so that you can get into our premium Slack where I'll be dropping updates to this list throughout the day. Then follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates for this list just before lock. Best of luck today. I'll see you guys again tomorrow morning.